They think the hardest part is the workout. The hardest part was deciding to show up. Yeah. I used to dread the session, dread the bar, dread the run. Then I realized the hardest part is already done. The decision in the morning is the heaviest of weights. Once I'm at the door, the rest just naturally dictates. I stopped fearing the work, I started fearing the delay. The hardest part is choosing not the hours of the day. Once the choice gets made, the body follows like a current. The hardest part is already done before the actual descent. The hardest part is already done. I made the choice at dawn. The hardest part is already done. The rest is carried on. I stopped fearing the workload. Once the choice was sealed and set, the hardest part is already done. The body has no debt. They ask me how I find the energy to push through every set. I tell them all the energy was spent before I sweat. The hardest part is laces as the door is getting dressed. Once you're standing at the threshold, momentum does the rest. I stop negotiating after waking up the will. The hardest part is already done before I climb the hill. The choice is heavier than any weight I'll ever lift. The hardest part is already done. The work on is the hardest part is already done. I made the choice at dawn. The hardest part is already done. The rest is carried on. I stopped fearing the workload. Once the choice was sealed and set, the hardest part is already done. The body has no debt. The already decided, already moving, already done. The mirror doesn't forget what you almost didn't do. I check in every morning. Yeah! The mirror holds a record of the mornings that I chose. Every choice I almost skipped. The mirror always knows. I look into the glass and see the version built from choice. The mirror doesn't flatter, doesn't lend a softer voice. It just reflects the sum of every decision that I made. Every mirror remembers every morning I delayed. I'm not afraid to face it, because the record's mostly proud. Every mirror remembers and the truth gets spoken loud. Every mirror remembers, the glass don't ever lie. Every mirror remembers every reason and reply. I check the reflection every morning that I rise. Every mirror remembers what I built behind my eyes. Honest. The mirror caught me early when the choices weren't aligned. He'll watch me almost quit before the discipline refined. Every mirror remembers, even on the hardest days. It saw me push through everything in 100 different ways. I don't need a witness other than the glass in me. The mirror keeps an honest record of who I chose to be. Every mirror remembers and the proof is in the frame. I built the man reflected and I'm grateful for the name. Every mirror remembers, the glass don't ever lie. Every mirror remembers every reason and reply. I check the reflection every morning that I rise. Every mirror remembers what I built behind my eyes. Honest. Record. It never showed up, I built one instead. I scanned every map, looking for the quicker route. Every shortcut, promise led to nowhere absolute. I wasted years on searching for the easier design. The shortcut never arrived, so I committed to the line. A long road was the only road that ever told the truth. I stopped chasing the illusion that exhausted my youth. The shortcut never arrived because the shortcut never was. I built my own direct path through the discipline and the cause. The shortcut never arrived. I quit waiting at the gate. The shortcut never arrived. I refused to hesitate. I built the road myself instead of searching for the quick. The shortcut never arrived, but the long road always stuck. They sold me the illusion in 1,000 different forms. The shortcut never arrived through any of the storms. I finally understood the road was never meant to bend. A long way was the only way that ever met the end. I stopped looking sideways for an easier way through. The shortcut never arrived, so the long road is the truth. I'm grateful for the years I spent assuming it would come. The shortcut never arrived, but I arrived with everything done. The shortcut never arrived. I quit waiting at the gate. The shortcut never arrived. I refused to hesitate. I built the road myself instead of searching for the quick. The shortcut never arrived, but the long road always stuck. No shortcut, just the road. Walked it anyway. Talk is unverified. The body is the only ledger that doesn't lie. Everybody talks about the plans they have in mind, but the body is the ledger where the proof is signed. I stopped announcing intention, stopped the talk before the act. I let the proof of work speak louder than the abstract fact. The mirror doesn't argue, doesn't listen to the claim. It only shows the record of the discipline or the shame. I'm done with the promises that float without a base. Proof of work is written permanently on my face. Proof of work, the body never lies. Proof of work, it's written in my eyes. Talk evaporates, but evidence remains in stone. Proof of work, the only truth I've known. The only truth I've known. Yeah, they measure commitment by the volume of the speech. I measure it in calluses that talking cannot reach. The proof of work accumulates in places you can fake. Every honest rep contributes to the proof I make. I quit explaining what I'm building, let the build explain itself. The proof of work outlasts the talk that sits upon the shelf. The ledger of my discipline is carved into the frame. Proof of work is permanent and talk is just a claim. Proof of work, the body never lies. Proof of work, it's written in my eyes. Talk evaporates, but evidence remains in stone. Proof of work, the only truth I've known. The only truth I've known. Carved in Everyone wants to sprint. I signed up for the marathon a long time ago. They burned out in the early miles, trying to win the first lap. I paced myself a distance, never fell into the trap. The long game doesn't care about the headlines of the start. It cares about the ones still moving when the others fall apart. I built my pace for decades, not for moments or for show. The long game wins eventually, the sprint is always slow. I'm not racing for the early lead, I'm racing for the end. The long game wins for those who treat the distance like a friend. The long game wins, I paced it from the start. The long game wins, patience is the art. The sprinters burn out early, but the steady ones remain. The long game wins, I'm built to handle pain. I'm built to handle pain. They flashed across the early miles and faded out of view. I kept the same consistent pace and watched the distance grow. The long game doesn't reward the fastest single mile. It rewards the ones still standing after every single trial. I learned the secret early, learned to play it slow and sure. The long game wins for those whose discipline can long endure. No wonder how I'm still here decades after they began. The long game wins because I never altered from the plan. The long game wins, I paced it from the start. The long game wins, patience is the art. The sprinters burn out early, but the steady ones remain. The long game wins, I'm built to handle pain. Still built, still pacing, still here. Long game wins. They crossed me off years ago. I never crossed myself off. They made their predictions early, wrote the verdict on the wall, counting me as finished long before I'd even start to fall. I kept my name on the list, even when the list was empty. I'm still here, writing chapters that the doubters never sent me. The list of who would make it never had my name in pencil. I wrote it in permanent ink, refused to be incidental. Still on the list, when they assumed I quietly retreat. Still on the list, still walking, still refusing the defeat. Still on the list, they thought I'd disappear. Still on the list, still standing, still right here. They crossed me off in private, but I never agreed. Still on the list, still planning everything. Hey, hey. The list gets shorter every year for those who chose to quit. I'm still here, adding chapters, still here, proving every bit. They updated their predictions, said I fade into the back. I'm still on the list, still building, still refusing to lag. The names that mattered early aren't the names that matter last. I'm still on the list while half of them belong to the past. Still on the list because the list was never theirs to write. Still on the list, still climbing, still awake and still in fight. Still on the list, they thought I'd disappear. Still on the list, still standing, still right here. They crossed me off in private, but I never agreed. Still on the list, still planning everything. Never erased, never finished. Still here. puts the comeback on the calendar. It just happens when you finally decide. There was no announcement, no countdown to the day. I just woke up one morning and refused to stay away. The comeback nobody's schedule doesn't need a grand reveal. It starts in silence with a single choice that feels unreal. I didn't wait for New Year or a Monday or a sign. I started in the middle of a Tuesday out of time. The comeback nobody's scheduled is the only kind that's real. The plan was never happened, but the sudden one's still here. The comeback nobody's scheduled, it just began today. The comeback nobody's scheduled, no countdown, no delay. I didn't wait for Monday or a reason to begin. The comeback nobody's scheduled is the one I'm living in. They want the perfect moment, want the calendar aligned. I learned the perfect moment is a story we designed to delay the actual moment that was sitting there all along. The comeback nobody's schedule doesn't need a battle song. It just needs a single choice repeated every day until the choice becomes a person, nothing pulls away. I'm proof the comeback doesn't need an audience or day. The comeback nobody's scheduled never has to wait. The comeback nobody's scheduled, it just began today. The comeback nobody's scheduled, no countdown, no delay. I didn't wait for Monday or a reason to begin. The comeback nobody's scheduled is the one I'm living in. No day, no day, no countdown, already started. They look at the surface and call it the whole story. I see the years they're missing. They see the outcome standing tall and call it luck or chance. They never saw the mornings, never saw the years advance. The untrained eye looks only at the version on display. It misses every sacrifice that built it day by day. I don't correct the story when they label it as easy. I know the truth lives in the hours nobody could see me. The untrained eye will always miss the architecture underneath. I built it brick by silent brick beneath the public's reef. Untrained eye, you only see the peak. Untrained eye, you miss me at my weakest week. The story you're admiring took years you'll never know. Untrained eye, you only see the show. You only see the show. Yeah, they want the shortcut to the virgin standing here today. They don't want the years of mornings, wanna skip the underpay. The untrained eye assumes the gift arrived without the cost. It never counted all the comfortable nights I lost. I let them keep believing it's a story made of chance. The truth is buried deeper than the untrained eye can glance. The peak looks effortless to those who never climb the hill. Untrained eye, you'll never know the discipline and will. Untrained eye, you only see the peak. Untrained eye, you miss me at my weakest week. The story you're admiring took years you'll never know. Untrained eye, you only see the show. heart doesn't know your excuse. It only knows if you lift it. I told her weight about my morning, told her how I felt. The weight just sat there silent, didn't care about the belt. It doesn't read excuses, doesn't listen to the story. It only measures effort, only answers force with glory. I stopped explaining to the iron why I might be slow. The weight don't care about the reasons, only what I show. The honesty of metal is the truest thing I found. The weight doesn't care, it only cares about the ground. The weight doesn't care, it only knows the lift. The weight doesn't care about the story or the gift. No excuses ever moved a single ounce of steel. The weight doesn't care, it only cares I'm real. It only cares I'm real. Yeah. The iron never asks if I slept well or if I'm sore. It just sits there waiting, asking nothing, wanting more. I respect the honesty, the weight is always shown. No politics, no feelings, just the truth that it is known. Every excuse I bring, it bounces off the cold steel skin. The weight doesn't care about the war I fight within. It only cares if I show up and put my hands beneath. The weight doesn't care, and that's the only thing I need. The weight doesn't care, it only knows the lift. The weight doesn't care about the story or the gift. No excuses ever moved a single ounce of steel. The weight doesn't care, it only cares I'm real. It only cares I'm real. Cold and honest, always waiting. The weight doesn't care. I treated my life like a rehearsal for years. Then I realized the curtain was already up. I kept on practicing for someday, like the someday would arrive. But every day I practiced was a day I was alive. The dress rehearsal ended without anyone telling me I was already living what I thought I'd someday be. No more saving up the effort for the opening night. Every single morning is the actual spotlight. I stopped treating my potential like a draft that someday send. The dress rehearsal's over and the show is here, my friend. Dress rehearsal is over. This is the actual run. Dress rehearsal is over. The show is already begun. I stopped waiting for the curtain. Stop waiting for the cue. Dress rehearsal is over, and the only star is you. To save the energy for some imagined stage, but every day already counts on every single page. The performance was happening while I rehearsed the part. I finally understood the curtain rose before the start. No retakes available, no editing the scene. Every choice I'm making now is permanently seen. I quit the practice runs and started living like it's live. Dress rehearsal's over and it's time that I arrive. Dress rehearsal is over. Actual run. Dress rehearsal is over. The show has already begun. I stopped waiting for the curtain. to finish the job. Work could give. Now I understand the patience that the stone has learned to live. The river doesn't argue with the boulder in its path. It just keeps on flowing till the boulder feels the math. I'm the river now, relentless, slow and never tired, wearing down the limits that the doubters long admire. The patience of the stone is not about the lack of fire. It's about the fire burning slow enough to never expire. The patience of stone. Seasons, not in centuries. I'm building something different, something built on certainties. The patience of the stone has outlasted every storm. I'm shaping who I'm becoming slowly by the norm. No explosion needed when erosion does the job. I keep on flowing steady while the impatience sob. The patience of the stone will carve a canyon out of doubt. I'm the water and the time it takes to wear it out. The patience of stone, I wear away. They handed me nothing. I built everything with what was left. Hey! The air! I never got the easy version, never got the open door. Every inch I'm standing on is something I fought for. The gift was never offered, so I learned to manufacture. The will to build it from the ground became my permanent fixture. They got the head start early, got the comfortable terrain. I got the broken pavement, learned to walk through every pain. The difference isn't talent, it's the hours that I gave. Earned, not given is the only currency I save. Earned, not given, every single edge. Earned, not given, never once would flinch. The gift was never offered, so I built it with my hands. Earned, not given, that's the only plan. That's the only plan. They asked me how I got here like the answer was a secret. I told them there's no secret, there's just hours that I keep it. The given path was never mine, I had to build the road. Every rock I cleared away became a heavier load. Carried anyway because the carry was the lesson. Earned, not given, taught me every step's a possession. Nobody can take what's built from nothing but the will. Earned, not given, is a fortress nothing else can fill. Earned, not given, every single edge. Earned, not given, never once would flinch. The gift was never offered, so I built it with my hands. Earned, not given, that's the only plan. say. I waited for somebody to save the day. Then I realized nobody was coming. Yeah, yeah. Woo! I used to scan the horizon for the rescue that would come, waiting for the moment when the hard part will be done. But the horizon stayed empty and the calendar moved on. I realized the waiting was a story I've been drawn. Nobody's coming with the motivation or the map. I had to be the rescue, had to close the open gap. The day I stopped expecting was the day I finally moved. Nobody's coming, so I built the proof I had to prove. Nobody's coming, I had to be the one. Nobody's coming, the waiting game is done. I stopped scanning the horizon for a hand that wasn't there. Nobody's coming, so I built it bare. I sent up every signal hoping someone heard the call, but silence answered back and showed me I would have it all. On me alone, no shortcuts, no partner in the climb. Nobody's coming was the hardest lesson in the prime. I built the rescue in my hands instead of waiting still. I learned that nobody arrives unless you climb the hill. The empty horizon taught me everything I had to know. Nobody's coming, so I learned to be my own. Nobody's coming, I had to be the one. Nobody's coming, the waiting game is done. I stopped scanning the horizon for a hand that wasn't there. Nobody's coming, so I built it bare. Just me. Always was. Enough. Yeah. They told me the body had limits. I built around every single one. The doctor drew the boundary on a chart I never signed. I studied every limitation, left the fear behind. A bad knee never canceled out the will to keep on climbing. I adjusted every movement, kept the discipline aligning. They said the body wasn't built for what I had in mind. I built a different body out of what was left behind. The limb became a teacher, showing patience through the pain. I built on what was broken till the broken built again. Built on a bad knee, built around the break, built on a bad knee. Every step I take, the body wasn't perfect, but the will refused to bend. Built on a bad knee, I'm still standing in the end. They wanted full mobility before I start to climb. I started with the limited and made the most of time. The modification wasn't weakness, it was strategy in motion. I built an empire on the body with the imperfection. Every doctor's note became a chapter, not a wall. I read the limitation and I answered with it all. The bad knee taught me patience that the healthy never learn. I built on what was broken and I still standing in the end. Looking forward, still building, still here. Everything worth having charges interest. I pay it in the morning, 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 morning. There's a tax on every outcome and the payment isn't cash. It's collected every morning in the form of the alarm clash. I used to dodge the taxman, hide behind a thin excuse, but the bill kept growing larger and there's no way to refuse. I started paying early, started paying every day. The discipline tax compounds when you put it off and stray. Now I pay it first thing morning, treat it like the only rule. The discipline tax is cheaper when you're not avoiding school. The discipline tax, I pay it every day. The discipline tax, there is no easy way. I used to run from payment, now I pay it with my chest. The discipline tax buys a version of my best, 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 best. The audit comes eventually, whether ready or not. They check the years of payments or the years that you forgot. I don't want the penalty for skipping on the bill, so I show up every morning, pay the tax against my will. The will gets easier the longer that you choose to pay. The discipline tax becomes a habit, not delay. I'm not afraid of audits, I've been paying all along. The discipline tax is heavy, but I'm building something strong. The discipline tax, I pay it every day. The discipline tax, there is no easy way. I used to run from payment, now I pay it with my chest. The discipline tax buys a version of my best, 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 best. Hey, 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 hey. Every single morning, no debt left. Everyone falls. The story isn't about the fall, it's about the flow. Hey. 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 I hit the floor harder than anyone saw or could believe. The story they remember is the moment I would leave. But the floor was never punishment, it was a place to learn. The lowest point became the spot where I would finally turn. I studied every crack and every reason for the fall. I built my comeback brick by brick from nothing there at all. The floor doesn't define you, only how you choose to rise. I read the floor like scripture, found the lesson in disguise. The floor is not the end, it's the beginning of the climb. I stayed there long enough to study every single side. The fall was never failure, was tuition that I paid. The floor is not the end, I built the comeback from the shade. weakness buried in the place I fell. The floor became the forge where I learned how to build a shell. The floor is not the end, it's the beginning of the climb. I stayed there long enough to study every single sign. The fall was never failure, was tuition that I paid. The floor is not the end, I built a comeback from the shade. I built a comeback from the shade. Rising from the floor, stronger than before. Never the end. I used to negotiate with myself every single morning. I fired the negotiator. There used to be a meeting held inside my head at dawn. Committee voting whether I should push or carry on. I gave the floor to laziness, I let excuses speak. Every motion fell before the session of the week. I shut the meeting down and made the calendar the law. No more open floor for comfort, no more time to draw. The decision was already made the day I drew the line. Not negotiable means the vote is permanently mine. Not negotiable, the terms are already set. Not negotiable, I don't make a bet. The discipline was sound before the doubt could raise its hand. Not negotiable, I already understand. They ask me how I stay consistent through the hardest weeks. I tell them there's no conversation, there's no room for tweaks. The plan exists outside the mood that visits in the morning. I follow the commitment regardless of the warning. Not negotiable doesn't mean I never feel the weight. It means the weight does not get final say on what I create. I close the door on bargaining the day I drew the chart. Not negotiable is the engine, not the start. Not negotiable, the terms are already set. Not negotiable, I don't make a bet. The discipline was signed before the doubt could raise its hand. Not negotiable, I already understand. No vote, no discussion. Done. Done. Everyone wants to feel ready. The first rep never asks if you do. The first rep is a lie that tells you nothing's gonna change. It feels exactly like the rep before, identical and strange. But I keep moving through the lobby, cause the 100th rep is real. The transformation is invisible in anything I feel. I stop waiting for the moment when the rep would feel profound. I just keep showing up for reps until the proof is found. The first one always whispers that today might be a waste. I silence the suggestion and I let the body tell. The first rep is a lie, the 100th one is true. way the first one felt. Now I understand the early reps are just the cards I'm dealt. The body doesn't know the difference between doubt and discipline. It only knows repetition is the only way to win. I'm not chasing the sensation of the early adrenaline. I'm chasing the accumulation buried underneath the skin. The first rep is a lie that tries to talk me out the door. I walk straight through the lion and I always ask for more. The first rep is a lie. The 100th one is true. I don't believe the doubt that comes in feeling brand new. Every set repeats the lie, but I already know the game. The first rep is a lie, but I show up just the same. But I show up just the same. The line into the pro. Still moving. Nobody films the 4 a.m. That's exactly why I show up. Yeah. Yeah. The world is sleeping while I'm lacing up the only proof I need. No camera in the corner, no applause to plant the seed. The quiet hours don't reward you with the things that go viral. They reward you 6 months later with a version more survival. I trade the easy comfort of the blanket for the code. The quiet hours are where the real story gets told. Nobody's watching, which is exactly why it matters. The character you build in silence is the one that never shatters. Quiet hours, nobody sees the start. Quiet hours, building from the dark. The work that no one witnesses becomes the strongest kind. Quiet hours, that's where I left the doubt behind. I used to wait for witnesses before I gave my best. Now I understand that quiet hours are the actual test. The discipline you find when no one's keeping score is the discipline that opens up the heaviest of doors. The sun comes up eventually and finds me halfway done, while the world rolls over for another hour of the sun. I'm not racing anybody, I'm not chasing a parade. I'm just collecting hours in the currency that's made. Quiet hours, nobody sees the start. Quiet hours, building from the dark. The work that no one witnesses becomes the strongest kind. Quiet hours, that's where I left the doubt behind. Still dark outside, still moving. Quiet hours. There's a version of me waiting on the other side of discomfort. I've been keeping them waiting long enough. I drew a picture of the man I said I'd someday be. Hung it on the wall and let it stare right back at me. Every morning that I skipped became a promise left unpaid. I'm not chasing inspiration, I'm collecting what I made. The debt collector doesn't knock, he just sits there in the mirror. Every excuse I handed him just made the picture clearer. I owe that version effort, not emotion, not a mood. I'm done negotiating terms, I'm only bringing food. This is the version I owe, not the version I feel. I show up for the dead because the dead is real. Doesn't matter if I'm ready, doesn't matter if it's slow. I'm paying back the version of the man I used to know. The man I used to know. Yeah. I used to think the picture on the wall was motivation. Now I know it's closer to an honest obligation. The man I drew was patient, but he's done with my delay. I started treating promises like bills I have to pay. No interest-free extension, no forgiveness on the loan. Every set I show up for is a brick I finally own. The deck gets smaller every day, I choose to show instead. I'm building him in silence with the sweat instead of dread. This is the version I own, not the version I feel. I show up for the dead because the dead is real. Doesn't matter if I'm ready, doesn't matter if it's slow. I'm paying back the version of the man I used to know. The man I used to know. He's not asking for perfection, he's asking for the start. Every rap I give him closes distance to the chart. Pay in full, eventually. Not today, but closer.